Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rody and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day guys and welcome to episode 92 of All the Gear But No Idea. Rody, good to be here.
Diz, always a pleasure to be here talking fishing with you, and we got a big show ahead of us.
Yeah, we do, mate. We are very lucky to be joined by Asher from RecFish SA. He's been on our show a couple of times now, I think, before, and he is always extremely knowledgeable, he's got his finger on the pulse. He knows exactly what's happening in all pockets of the state, and we can't wait to have a chat with him, Rody.
Diz, and we've got a hell of a lot to chat with Asher about this week, so let's keep moving through the rest of the episode, Diz, and you get us started with your oranges and lemons.
Absolutely, mate. Well, I'll get started by saying that I feel like I've had a bit of a string of some pretty good trips away. We talked about Fiji last week. Then I rolled that straight into the AFL Grand Final weekend with the boys. That was an epic weekend. What a great game it was. I think I had my hopes that the Lions would have got the job done, but when we were sitting with the Collingwood faithful and the Army there, I sort of just started to turn a bit.
It was easy to get caught up in it all, wasn't it, mate? And yeah, it was an absolute epic weekend. About halftime of the footy, we met at a bar for a beer and quickly moved on to trying to book Airbnbs for next year's grand final. So we're hooked.
And I think every single one of us who was there said, we can't believe we haven't done this for the last 10 years of our life.
It was amazing, Diz.
Yeah, it certainly was. Rody, what's your orange?
Diz, we went to the Adelaide Game Fishing Club presentation dinner on the weekend just gone, and that was really good to catch up with some other blokes and some girls who love their fishing, hear about all their success.
Yeah.
And I think we learned a thing or two, Diz.
Yeah, we did. There was certainly a distinct lack of photos going up on the screen of fish that we've caught.
We're probably not the most active members of the club, are we?
No, we aren't, but it was great, like you say, to see some familiar faces and catch up with some new people who we hadn't met before. So, yeah, good to get out there and catch up with them. A very well-organised event by Will McClay and the team. So, yeah, great effort to them. And I might even just roll that straight into my lemon, if you don't mind.
Go for it, mate.
Well, while I have had a good string of time away, I've also had a pretty decent string of my son, Ned, bringing home some pretty horrific diseases from childcare. Now, anybody with kids out there will understand what I'm talking about here, because it just feels like that place is just an absolute harvesting ground for grossness and germs.
Dizzy, I don't think like our kids are the same age and they go to the same childcare. I don't think Lil's seen Ned in about 6 weeks.
He has been missing.
Between Fiji, sickness, this and that, I think you had to reintroduce him to the staff. And
mate, at least we do the right thing, unlike all the other bloody parents who just send them there with whatever sickness happens. So, nah, he's been crooking, bringing it into the house, which has been disappointing because it sort of goes from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, and you feel like you've been sick for a month. But anyway, that's me moving right along from our latest bout of cold and flu / gastro / everything else that's come past. What's your
Diz, I've had a pretty good couple of weeks, to be honest. I had to really rack my brain for this one. The only thing I could think of is Lil deciding her new wake-up time is about 5 a.m. So that's probably really put a dent in my sleeping. I'm often getting up at that time to go to the gym anyway, but on the days that you really want to sleep in, it is nice to be able to at least push it out to 6:30. But we are reacquainting ourselves with a few prior episodes of iFish, so that's the only positive. Lil's getting in on the iFish, which is good.
So you don't just take her to the gym if you're up for that hour and just get her to tag along with you?
She's not that good with the dumbbells, unfortunately.
Very good. All right, Rody. Well, let's get into the update for the listeners out there, of course, about our photo comp. We have the September Squid comp winner, which we will be announcing today, which is an epic prize from Shimano. Rody, talk us through it.
Diz, the winner of this excellent prize, there's a squid rod, squid reel, there's 3 squid jigs, backpack, the absolute whole works from Shimano. We've shared the prize heaps of times, so everyone knows what it is. But the winning photo was... We did say we were looking for a great photo, and this one certainly met that criteria. It's a bit of underwater photography. It's 2 squid smashing 2 different lures. And the winner is Aaron Bramham.
Oh, well done, Aaron.
Well done indeed. So he shared that on one of the Facebook posts we put up, and we will be getting in contact with him with his prize. We'll organise that for him. So congratulations to Aaron. And big thank you to all the other entrants. There were heaps of really good photos, heaps of squid being caught. So we really loved that competition, didn't we, Diz?
We did, mate. And it wasn't surprising with how many entries we got. When you've got that fantastic quality gear, you've got Shimano Raider, Iggy Rod, you've got the Shimano Sedona 3000 in there, a whole bunch of jigs. Really great quality stuff. And, of course, we are also throwing in a bit of all the gear merch, which is bloody good gear too, mate.
Diz, and you know where you can get that all the gear merch coming up, the boat show.
Yeah, absolutely. We've shared that recently. Simon from Savage Tackle's been kind enough to have our merch at his stall, which is excellent. He does the best sort of tackle going, sinkers, burley munches, which he had a bit of a jibe at us about how poorly we explained it. But, very good. So fantastic work to Aaron out there. We'll get in touch with you, mate, and send the prize your way.
All right, Diz, let's get in the news.
Rody and Diz have been searching far and wide to bring you the latest news across all fishing in the state, and we'll give you the rundown on what you need to know.
Bit to get through in today's episode, Rody, in the news segment, mate. Couple of sort of updates on some recent news that has been hitting the media. Of course, there's been a few shark attacks of late, Rody. Beachport, we won't be down there sort of frolicking around like we always have been.
No, that was just off the jetty, I think that one is. A woman got bitten the other morning and rushed to a local hospital. So that didn't sound like much fun, Diz.
No, not at all.
Pam Cook, her name was. And
we
I
certainly
think
wish
she's
her well.
Had a fair bit of injury, but I think she's okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, it's this time of year, you take care, swim between the flags, all those sorts of things, but at the end of the day...
And they're regular swimmers down there, Diz. It's actually quite a nice name their group has, the Beachport Sea Urchins and Slugs.
Oh, right.
Taking part in their regular swim.
Yeah, okay. Jeez.
So serious injuries, but is in a stable condition.
Jesus, it's been an interesting sight watching a slug swim.
All right, Diz, let's keep moving. What else you got for us?
Brody, there's been a whale that has hit a boat in Botany Bay, and this was a serious injury. So this was a huge, obviously, a collision with a whale with the boat. Not good at all.
There was a fatality out of this one, Diz, so
yes.
It certainly isn't good. So this happened a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago or something now.
Yeah.
So, in Sydney's Botany Bay, the whale just jumped up nearby, and the 61-year-old fella wasn't so lucky. His 53-year-old, I think it was a family member or maybe a mate, was uninjured but taken to hospital for monitoring. So, really sad stuff, that one, Diz, and it was a 4.8 metre runabout, and the whale basically just jumped up and landed on top of him.
Yeah, horrible news. You see a lot of videos of close encounters with some of those sorts of things, and when you see them up close with the force that they come back down with, it's no wonder that, particularly of a small boat like that they would just do some real damage. So clearly sending our thoughts, a bad news story, that one, but one we thought we should cover anyway. Rody, the Northbank comp, let's move on to that. This is an epic competition which has been happening yearly for quite some time. They did have a bit of a break, I think, through COVID, but this one is going to be bigger and better than ever from all reports. We've got Harry heading up Northbank now. We've covered that in previous stories. I'm sure that he's going to put his flair on this event, and no doubt all the Northbanks will be doing the damage to try and win the comp down there.
Exactly right, Diz. So that is this coming weekend, October 14th. The Saturday is the competition and dinner. And there is also a briefing on the Friday night at the pub, I believe. Entry fee is $150 per boat with an additional $40 per angler, which covers your fishing shirt and dinner. And yeah, obviously lots of great prizes. So if you are keen to get involved in that, hit up Brad at christiesbeachmarine.com.au.
Yeah, epic roadie. Basically, even if you're not in the comp and you're down that way, you probably just want to get down to the ramp and just look at all that boat porn that's going on down there.
You certainly do this.
Seriously good looking boats.
They'll be making you jealous.
Absolutely. All right, roadie. Well, the Happy Valley Fishing Day made on Gone Fishing Day, which RecFish SA put on an event for down at the Happy Valley Reservoir. There was an Opera House net swap to the new and improved pyramid design, which we have covered off is much better for other marine species. We're going to cover that with Asher later in today's episode, so we won't spend too much time on that, but you did manage to get down there, Rody.
I did, Diz. It was a really good day, so well done to RecFish for putting that on. Plenty. I reckon we were there for probably an hour and a bit, and I reckon there were 7 or 8 fish caught, all good-sized cod. Plenty of kids getting into them. Some of them had very little idea what they were doing, so clearly haven't done a lot of fishing, so really good that Levi Nash and Jordan Saliba and Asher himself were down there to help out. I unhooked one for a kid. That was good of me.
Oh, good on you.
Just jumped into it. They needed a bit of help. I thought, here we go. They need a hero. So I put my cape on and went and unhooked.
Yeah,
and
no surprises there. For anyone who knows you, you're not shy of a cape.
So, no, that was a really good day, Diz. But we will talk about more of the details of that with Asher in just a minute. And likewise for this snapper story that we're going to talk about. Yes,
absolutely, Rody. So, of course, RecFish put some big news out there sort of 4 or 5 days ago now. RecFish SA have been negotiating a voluntary commercial long-lining quota purchase, and there'll be some conditions with those stakeholders. So we are going to hear the ins and outs of that story from the man himself who's been behind it, Asher, and the rest of the team from RecFish SA. So we won't cover too much off on that, but it's fantastic news in our view. We look forward to seeing where this goes next, and we would like to think that this is the building blocks or the first steps for a successful and healthy fishery to come back for us to all enjoy.
Exactly right, Diz. We'll like you said, we'll hear all that from Asher.
Beautiful. Rody, I did want to just give the listeners a bit of a teaser, if you don't mind.
Yep, go for it.
Well, we are going to be, of course, in the next SA Angler article, and we do enjoy sort of putting our journalism hats on.
We certainly do, Diz, and we got busy on the boat setup for the summer, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And one thing that we thought is very important, of course, is life jacket and a whole range of other things. So we're going to cover that off in our tackle segment, but we did just want to give the listeners a little bit of a teaser of what's to come in the next SA Angler article, Rody. And before we do get into that tackle item of the week, we did want to cover off the Bream Master Comp, Rody.
Yeah, Diz, the championship round was held on October 8th at the Port River. And so 7 of the top anglers of 2023 went at it. They launched at Snowdon's Beach. Says here, conditions were almost perfect. Plenty of legal fish were weighed in. And Diz, you can give us the winners.
Yeah, so the results were in. Some seriously good fish caught. Not going to run through them all. Let's just go straight to first place, Ben Harrison, with a bag of 2.45 kilos.
Very good.
Very good indeed. There's a whole host of winners there. Jump on the Bream Master SA Southern Fishing Tournaments fishing page if you do want to see the whole list of winners there. But like you say, great comp to be a part of if you're into bream fishing. We certainly know Alex Williams gets down there and does some damage.
It certainly does, Diz.
Love it, Rody. That's a good little news segment, mate. I think for all those listeners out there, let's let them get into our next segment, which is, of course, the tackle item of the week.
Now it's time for Rody and Diz to really show you what it means to have all the gear with a lot of idea as they review a tackle item of the week.
So, Rody, we gave the listeners a little bit of a teaser about our next SA Angler article, and we're going to cover off something in today's tackle item of the week, which is extremely important.
Diz, so what our tackle item of the week is this week is a new 33-gram canister of CO2 that you can chuck into your life jacket if it needs it.
Yes. So you want to make sure, particularly for anybody out there who uses those inflating sort of vest life jackets.
Yeah, the self-inflating ones,
that those canisters are what will inflate the life jacket should you ever need it.
And when do you need a canister, Diz? When do you need a new one?
Well, you need a new canister for a few different conditions, Rhodey.
This is just testing Dizzy's knowledge. We did this on the weekend, but I was doing most of the work. So
you do need to do an audit of them essentially every year.
Yep.
And you can outsource that process to people who are entrusted to do that auditing process for you. We chose to do it our own.
Are we going to offer this as a service to others?
We are. We're not starting up any business here, mate. I'm sick of seeing you. I don't want to see you any more than I have to already.
So, Diz, why would you need a new canister? What?
You would need a new canister if there's clear signs of corrosion on the CO2 canister.
Which we had on some of ours.
We did.
So we are heading down to the shop on the weekend and we're going to buy a couple of new ones.
Yeah, we are. And we're going to do that because signs of corrosion, particularly around the connection, is not good in the event that you need to inflate them. If you are going to do a self-check on them, you need to remove the canister. There'll be a weight on that canister and it needs to be plus or minus 2 grams.
Yeah. So ours they were like 147 and somewhere around there. And it said it on the side, it's printed and you put them on your scales, weigh them. If it's within that weight range, you're good to go.
You want to make sure you've got pretty accurate scales because that's clearly another very important process in making sure that the right amount of gas is in there.
So can people bring them down to your pharmacy down at Christie's Beach?
Well, we might offer that as a little bit of an out service.
And you've also got to check that your life jacket holds air overnight.
Yes, you do. So you will notice on generally the other side of the canister, there'll be a red mouthpiece. You need to remove the cap for that, inflate it with your breath and leave it overnight to check that it still holds the same amount of air.
And in a perfect world, you're someone like Dizzy and you store your boat somewhere else. So I had to go out in the boat last night and roll up all the life jackets that we inflated the day before.
Oh, geez, someone get him a violin.
So if anyone needs any more details, the Marine Safety website does have all that and all of your safety gear requirements. We did do a big sort of audit of the boat, made sure we had all our gear. I think one set of our flares is going out of date in the next few months. Yep. So it's a good time of year to check up on all your safety gear, and we have talked about that in the next SA Angler magazine.
Yes, absolutely. So long and short of it is jump onto the Marine Safety website. It gives you step-by-step instructions of doing an audit process of your life jackets. Alternatively, they give you a list of other people who will be able to do that process for you. But we will be getting out, buying ourselves some new canisters, getting them back on our life jackets so they're ready should we ever need them.
And I think they're only sort of $20-$25, so it's a lot cheaper than buying a new life jacket.
Absolutely. All right, Rhodey, good little tackle item. I thought that was very helpful for everybody out there.
It certainly is, Disney. If you thought that news segment was good, you should wait and see how much news we've got coming up.
Oh, yeah, can't wait. Let's get the guests on the line.
Now it's time to get our guest on the line. We'll ask them the all-important 5 questions, then chat all things fishing in SA.
All right, Rhodey, very lucky to be joined by someone who has been exceptionally busy. Very grateful to be joined today by Asher Dezsery, RecFish SA Executive Officer. Thanks for coming on the show, Asher.
No worries at all. Thanks heaps for having me.
Now, Asher, we have got a list as long as our arm of things we want to talk to you about, but we're going to try and keep it brief. But we did think we'd get into probably the most topical and what people want to know about, and that's this snapper longline buyback. Can you tell us about that? That's a great thing for rec fishing.
Yeah, so it's come up a couple of times, and it's a heavily discussed issue is the whole recreational and commercial effort going to snapper. So RecFish SA actually hosted some of the larger quota holders from Gulf, St. Vincent and Spencer Gulf of snapper. And that represents about 50 to 70% of the Gulf St. Vincent fish and about a quarter of the whole fishery in Spencer Gulf. So we hosted them and we essentially said, we want to get our ducks in a row. Would you be keen and sort of able to sort of start talking about exiting the fishery and how that would look and what those conditions need to be for that to happen? And that conversation went really well. And from here, we'll start that process with the minister. And we have brought it up with the minister and the Premier and Treasurer in previous meetings. So it's not a new concept, but it's sort of time to get that ball rolling and start moving towards that.
Yeah, fantastic, Asher. And look, I think to start with, I really think it's great that you are pulling the two sectors together. That's obviously been something that, you don't have to be too close to any of the Facebook pages and these sorts of things, that there's just been Recs versus commercials just pitted against each other at every turn. And it's great to see the RecFish SA team and yourself really trying to flip that on its head and pull each other together to come to suitable outcomes. So can you talk to us a bit about how that's kind of come about, and, is that RecFish SA's plan to sort of bring all parties together moving forward?
Yeah, so it's a shared fishery. So everyone in South Australia takes, or essentially, removes fish from the fishery for some purpose or another. And for us, it's enjoyment, feeding our families, and for commercial, it's for feeding their families, but also their incomes. But we've also pulled the charter industry closely in with the whole conversation, especially with snapper, and like you'd see previously with snapper stocking, is everyone's there together. We've pulled charter in as well because they're actually assessed as the recreational sector also. But they sort of service the market that don't have their own boats and ability to fish, and they service the market of tourism. So they're also important. So RecFish SA have got everyone together. We've driven that and said, hey, we all need this resource to flourish. What can we do? And started this process. And later in the year, so RecFish SA hold seats on 17 or 18 committees now, or whatever it is. And the important aspect is that later on in the year, you've got access and allocation and harvest strategies and all sorts of things that need adjusting. And essentially, we're all a growing population with all sorts of issues, and we need to maintain some sort of sustainability and start future-proofing ourselves looking forward. So this isn't to benefit everyone today. This is to benefit my grandchildren and beyond, because this fishery needs revamping, and what we do now is going to last for 30 or 40 or 50 years while that population continues to grow, and while we get other factors like global warming and all those things and rising temperatures. All of those aspects come into play, and we've really got to start having a serious question and answer time about it.
So basically, if you take out X amount of the licenses to the pros, that means there's more fish in the ocean, hopefully left for us to catch and target?
Yeah, so if you see the snapper fishery as a giant pie, 82% of that pie is allocated for the commercial sector, and 18% remaining is what's left over for charter, recreational and Indigenous. So generally in all fisheries, Indigenous make up a 1% allocation, and that's just automatic across every species in South Australia pretty well. So by removing, say, half of that 82% of, half of those quota units, you put 41% over onto the recreational and charter section. And that doesn't mean that we then take more fish or we get a higher bag limit or our harvest necessarily goes up. It just means more fish are left in the water, and that's essentially an arc or a safety net of fish that are left in the water every year instead of being removed. And that will contribute to faster recovery because you've got increased breeding biomass. They're more efficient at breeding, as we've found with these new heat maps and things like that with SARDI, with the research on how they're breeding. And just generally is just securing an additional safety buffer for population growth and everything like that in the future.
Beautiful. That makes perfect sense to us, Asher. Now, the only question we do have is about the financial side of things. Is that something you're hoping that the government puts their hand in their pocket for, or do you think that might tie into a fishing licence or anything like that?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, and we've said many times before, a fishing licence isn't sort of the silver bullet that's necessarily going to fix all our problems. like this year, I think, yeah. Well, put it this way: Victoria this election cycle put $96 million in this election cycle into their fishing industry. So traditionally, well, like RecFish SA funded $200,000 for this year, and that money is to pay. Or you've seen the community events we've put on. You've seen the fish we've bought with that money, and we've stocked sort of Happy Valley with that. It pays for 2 or 1.5 staff to do the job of 20 people. So at the end of the day, it's sort of time that this whole industry and the charter industry is invested back into, and that's probably realistically going to look like the state government funding that initial step. But it's something that sort of needs to be done anyway, because, as I said, it's a dwindling resource with a growing population, and something has to be done now. And you know, when the fishery opens eventually, we'll likely have a bag limit of 1 fish, and you can't really get a bag limit lower than 1. You can't start catching half a snapper each, and cutting it in half and giving half to the boat next year. That's not how it's going to work, and it's not a really sustainable, future-proof model. So we're really asking state government to start looking at how we can guarantee this market. And $380 million a year is our tourist market for fishing. Where South Australia is a $1 billion industry, and then people argue that not everyone has a boat and catch a snapper. Well, that's okay, because we've got 60,000 registered boat owners in South Australia. The numbers are really stacking up, and they can't really be ignored anymore. And it's going to take big steps like this to really secure our natural resources and start thinking about safety of sustainability by leaving more fish in the water to breed.
Yeah, fantastic. And Asher, to that point around leaving more fish in the water, what sort of protections can we start to think about and put in place to make sure that this sort of thing doesn't just, introduce more, whether it be quotas for commercials or so on and so forth, making sure that we're sustainable for the long term? Because like you say, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are thinking about, whether it is that they want to get their kids into fishing or then their grandkids. And, snapper for a lot of us had been such a big part of our recreational fishing as we grew up, and to have it sort of decimated in front of our eyes has been really heartbreaking. So I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on the measures we put in place now to stop this from happening in the future.
In short, like the recreational sector is managed by their effort through our bag limits and their daily bag limits. And if for whatever reason, sometimes recreational pressure just skyrockets for various reasons, or various areas, or Streaky Bay on blue swimmer crabs, for example. So when it skyrockets off, there are fisheries management tools to keep that sustainable harvest going of that 18% of the total harvest per year that we get. So that could be lowering of bag limits, that could be spatial closures, that could be how it used to be with the November and December closures for breeding. There's elements to control that, as there's now elements to control snapper with the commercial quota. And it's a really interesting topic, because snapper have gone into the quota system whilst they were in closure for the collapse of the fishery. So that quota element, or that quota model, has never actually been tested. But with every other species, it works. Yeah. So straight away, there's already been a pretty significant measure put in place, which is that total allowable commercial catch. But we've also got the total allowable recreational catch, as how we've got that reporting app, and we're allowed a certain amount of thousands of fish per gulf. Sorry, not per gulf. Retract that, in the southeast zone. So there's different measures in play, and the fishery has sort of already been reformed and already had some safety nets put in place. And once that stock is back up and that breeding stock is back up, then we can start sort of dipping the toe in the water to reintroduce pressure, but it would be done in a very slow and throttled way. And that's why the commercial sector is saying, well, we're probably not going to be viable. We still hold 82% of the fishery by law, whether people like it or not. That's the licence conditions, and that's how it is. So it's a good thing if they're looking at moving out of the fishery and going, well, maybe our time is done and it doesn't interest me anymore, and that's their decision. So that's why it's a voluntary sort of subscription.
Yeah, no, beautiful. I think you've pretty well summed that up, Asher. We're very happy with what's going on in that snapper space, and we're looking forward to what keeps happening in the future.
Yeah, yep. No, we'll keep everyone well informed with that. It's a pretty structured, moving process, and we're keen to work through it and answer questions and negotiate all sorts of ways it might look like with the government. We're not just going to throw it on their lap and ask them to deal with it. We'll be well involved and pushing that along. And like I said, if all sectors are on the same page, which as of today they are, then it's probably going to sort of go well.
Beautiful. Now, something else we wanted to chat with you about, Asher. I was lucky enough to get down to Happy Valley on the Sunday just gone for a day organised by RecFish. There was kids fishing, there was swapping of your yabby nets. It was a great day all round. We just want to touch on that. Can you tell us about the day and also whether how the net swaps went?
Yeah, yep. So that was a fantastic day. I think all up we counted over the day 350 people through the gate. We had 1,800 yabby nets changed over in one day. That is the best result in Australia.
And that was all of them you had, is that right? They were all taken up?
Correct. Yeah. There's 200 left, and they still belong to Green Adelaide. And we'll be talking further about how we can get those changed over. But essentially, yabby nets, the Opera House nets became illegal as of July 1st. And that's to come in line with every other state in terms of their reducing impact on platypus and air-breathing animals. So Green Adelaide had a study going for the Torrens River catchment, and they were looking at the viability of the reintroduction of the platypus. And one of the biggest exposures to the project, or the biggest risk, was that platypus could be killed with Opera House nets, and they do. Not in South Australia because we don't really have them here at the moment. There are very isolated pockets, but generally speaking, that's how it is. So they said, that's fantastic, let's expedite this process. So RecFish spoke and negotiated with them right at the end of the year, the financial year, and they said, yep, we can fund sort of 15,000 yabby nets. Sorry, not that many, $15,000 worth of yabby net, and that'll be fine to go. And, there's a little bit of budget left. Whether that gets spent on another event or not, we don't know. But ultimately, that's where the money went, and it was a fantastic event, and it removed sort of close to 2,000 nets out of circulation, and they'll get sent over to New South Wales for recycling with Ozfish.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it was the weather turned it on. It was a great day by the looks. Couldn't get down there myself, unfortunately, but by all accounts, it was an excellent day. And it was good to see David Spears down there, obviously the opposition leader who was, as I understand it, at least a huge part involved in stocking the Happy Valley Reservoir. So, keen to hear your thoughts on the government's commitment to that on both sides, and then, maybe if there's anything in the pipelines moving forward about expanding that across other reservoirs, because it's really great to see all the families out there having a wonderful day.
Yeah, it was unreal. I think 3 or 4 kids that caught a cod, that was their very first fish they'd ever caught.
Wow.
So, being able to go to any local South Australian, we've got small water bodies here. They're certainly not lakes, but to rock up a pretty metro sort of water body and catch a cod as your first fish is just insane.
Those kids they're only going downhill from here.
Yeah, that's right. So we're teaching that early. So they've ruined their fishing careers. They're going, if I'm not catching a marlin, I'm not interested. David Spears originally did the stocking at Happy Valley with those big cod, and that was a very quick process, and that's why those larger fish went in there. But generally speaking, my background's aquaculture and breeding and growing fish and stocking them. But those cod would have cost in the vicinity of $30 to $50 each.
Wow.
To stock. So it wasn't a small investment, and comparatively, fingerlings are $2 to $3 each. So it was a large amount of I guess trust and risk on his part that they're all going to keel over and get mistreated. So that's an absolute testament to South Australians treating them properly. That's why it's so important to handle them with care, because those fish in another 5 years are going to be trophy-sized fish that people will come from all over interstate to catch. And that's a fishery that we're really excited to see develop, and it's something that we're really keen to sort of nurture into what it could be. But every government in South Australia, everyone looking at what we're achieving and doing is saying, these guys are worth getting behind, because RecFish is a board of volunteers, and there's a lot of volunteer hours going in. No one's getting anything out of it other than just being absolutely passionate about pushing this state forwards. And the government, on both sides, are really paying attention and seeing what South Australia is capable of, and in the last year, how much has changed for the recreational sector. So I dare say big changes coming, and it can only get better from here.
Yes, no, it was certainly great to see David Spears and have a chat with him down on the day. So good to see him showing some support. The other thing I did want to say is the fish certainly look to be of great health. Those ones that were caught, they're certainly bigger than they were 12 months ago, which is great to see. What I did want to ask is, are there more kids fishing clinics sort of on the agenda in the future?
We're trying. So we're the Reeling and Juniors program and the Reeling and program in general, which is focused on not only kids fishing but building diversity and especially getting more women involved. So they're funded generally by grants. So we don't charge for barbecues, or anything like that. We don't charge people to come. So those events are pretty expensive these days with barbecues and everything like that. So yeah, pretty well the money that comes in gets spent straight on the community, and that's where those events come from. So I think we're working on one, hopefully in a couple towards the end of the year at Mawson Lakes, possibly. We're working on another project, possibly tied up in Barmera. So yeah, we're certainly trying to get as many events happening as possible. We've managed to put on 2 so far, and yeah, I dare say we'll be aiming for 3, maybe 4 by the end of the year, but we'll see how we go.
Fantastic.
Oh, sorry. And further to that, yes, one of our board members, Shane, over in Port Lincoln, he's actually working with Indigenous communities at the moment, and once a week they all get together and go fishing, and that's been an amazing workshop. It's been going for several weeks now, and Shane said that it's getting bigger and bigger every week, which is really cool. But Shane from Tackle World, Shane and Alicia, they're doing that off their own back. They're not getting paid for it, and they're wearing all the cost on that. So, there are programs going on, and we'll continue to build them and put more on as we go.
Yeah, love it, Asher. A very successful day. Sounds like there's more in the pipelines, and huge thanks to all the volunteers, I think, and all the work that gets done behind the scenes. You're right. There is a lot of work involved in getting these days up and running. It's great to see when the weather plays the game and they end up being as successful as they have been. So, yeah, great work to everyone from the RecFish team and all involved. We're keen now, Asher, to have a chat with you just about a few little updates which we've covered off in previous episodes, but anything you can sort of share on them, both new or updated. So the Cape Jarvis Jetty, Asher, is something we've covered. Can you give us any updates on what's happening down there at the minute?
So I had a meeting on that. What day is it? Yesterday. So all the big wigs that organise all those marine projects. So we sat down and we sort of talked about it. And they're actually really good guys. Like they're constrained. It's a pretty harsh environment to work in terms of weather and things are breaking down all the time. Like winter, every time a set of stairs gets washed off a jetty, it costs taxpayers a ton of money, but there's not actually a ton of money there in the kitty waiting to be spent.
Yeah.
So the marine budget is very, very low funded, and that needs to be increased dramatically. I think there's a few few things going on. I'm happy with where things are tracking. Obviously we can't say, oh, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. There's so many approvals and engineering and all sorts to be done, but we're not leaving that alone, and we're pushing very, very hard to maintain some sort of access there that's meaningful. So that deep water access, so we can keep catching those squid and tommies we love going down there for. And it also gives the security of the property owners and everyone that visits there too, that they've got to actually, they've got no real beach down there. So, if they've got somewhere to fish, that's great.
Beautiful, Asher. We'll keep an eye on that one. The next little thing we wanted a bit of an update on was there was an announcement about the West Beach boat ramp being closed for a couple of periods in January, which I know a lot of fishers were pretty unhappy about being such a busy time and such a busy boat ramp. Is there any update on that? Is that still likely to be the case, or...?
Same deal. That's being chased up. So RecFish SA have put in a sort of a ministerial request to get Mr. Tom Kenton-Tonis involved. It's not really good enough. I did clarify whether that ramp was built with SABFAC funds, which is from your boat levy, and I was informed it was built with a marine stimulus package. So regardless, it's still taxpayer dollars, and I made that clear and sort of said, that it certainly isn't private enterprise and was built off the sweat of their own backs. So essentially, you can't close it. It's a public resource. It's publicly funded, and it's not a private sort of jetty like you've got those American like little pontoons that no one else is allowed on over in the US. It's sort of like you can't just claim it for yourself and do that. So we've been really reasonable. There's other ways around it. You don't need to completely close a ramp in the name of safety. The sailboats can launch earlier or later or stay out overnight or park on the beach, or there's a huge amount of different ways we can go about it. But I think it was pitched to be, it's a international event, which I understand, but can't see where the economic benefit is with 18,000 spectators trying to watch a boat from the shore, because they can't see the boats, and you certainly can't launch your boat to go look at it from sea either. So it's just a really weird, in theory it sounds great, but 1,000 to 1,100 boats are going to go through there in one day over those periods. That's going to impact 10 or 15,000 boat launches. Not a good sort of time for anyone. And yes, you can say go down the road to North Haven or anything, but it just shows a little bit of sort of naivety in that space, or just people don't understand who sort of made that claim, because we know that you can't just shift another 1,000 boats to another ramp because they're just as busy. And people are running out of fuel, people are running out of water, they've got kids on the boat and their wife, and that you don't want to be floating around for 3 or 4 hours, which happens on those sorts of days, trying to get your boat back on the trailer. It's unsafe, and you're just going to kick the can down the road to somewhere else. So, common sense would probably say don't do an international event over all of the public holidays of summer. Do it in the quieter season, like, in mild weather, like September, October, or Easter time. There's other times to do it, but leave the peak summer periods on, Australia Day and New Year's Day. Like, maybe leave them alone. That's a bit irresponsible.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't it be nice if common sense always prevailed? But anyway, that probably leads us nicely into the Port Mac wind farm. So any updates down there? There's been quite a few signatures on the petition. We'd like to see some more, obviously, but it has closed now, I believe. So great to see the support that got thrown behind it. Any updates on anything you've heard about the wind farm down there, Asher?
No, nothing yet. They're yet to announce so the official zoning and things like that, or what they're going to do, or how they're going to move it, or make it smaller. I don't know. But just comparatively, there's a lot going on the eastern states as well. And what happened at Port Mac was, Port Mac is a tiny community, and they're a long way away from anywhere. So on the eastern states, with all the there's politicians getting involved and huge crowds of people, there's thousands of people there. It's because, they're sort of like around about half hour away from Newcastle, if that. So very, very big populations, and a lot of people sort of seen. But Port Mac probably didn't get sort of the publicity or the huge crowds of people saying, no way, we don't want this wind, because, people had to travel 3 to 4 hours to get there, and it's a very small community. So it's really important to make sure that when those surveys do come out, it's not necessarily about whether you care about it specifically, not enough to click on it. Those communities really need help, and they really need people to. And when, if there's only a few hundred in a community, they need all of South Australia to get behind them. And the Port Mac community are ecstatic about the support they've gotten. They're so appreciative of what the rest of SA have done for them. They're going to continue that fight and make sure that fishery is safe from anything sort of detrimental to it.
All right, Asher, and last one on these little updates on some of the local issues. The boat ramp at Wirrina, I understand some work's already been undertaken there on filling some potholes and maybe some toilets, I think I heard. What's going on there, and still pushing for some access to fresh water for cleaning boats, is that right?
Yes, correct. So that was brought up a little bit this week. So it was good. We said, hey, summer's coming. It's going to get a lot of pressure. Let's sort of tidy this up if we can. And they were really good about it. DIT jumped straight to it. I think they were already onto the potholes. It was done within that 24 hours. I think 3 or 4 more toilets and a disabled toilet was sent down there and put on an increased cleaning schedule. So there's about 6 or 7 toilets down there. It was just great to see it, and the area was just humming along. I think I went down there with Barry on the Monday, those toilets were being used flat out by families, which is fantastic because it means that the area really needed it, and that was what was holding back maybe some of that visitation of being a family friendly space. You don't want those ramps that are only for the hardcore fishers that you want to be able to accommodate as many people as possible. So the freshwater is the only thing lacking now, and there's a whole heap of issues, but I worked through I even took up the task of working through the pipelines with SA Water to figure out where the access was. So RecFish were on it. I'm sort of sitting there on a map with SA Water Engineering, sort of talking about where the pipe comes out of the ground and how many trenches we need and how far it is. So we're pushing really hard, but it stops dead with EPA, and that's the Environmental Protection Act. So incredibly important, but in this case, the law is the law, and if you're using anything to wash down mechanical goods, it's sort of like it needs treating. And all ramps in South Australia, the water goes down the sewer and to treatment before being discharged. So if we can't do that, we can't discharge it to sea. For good reason. You never know what's in those bilges, especially if there's 3 or 4 litres of petrol if there's been a spill. Mm-hmm. But the EPA, from my understanding, even tried and said, well, hey, if there's some sort of biological filtration, if it goes through grass or lawn, but there's obviously no grass or lawn there either. So every option has been explored, but it's not finished yet. But it's not going to happen this summer. That's the main thing. And I wanted to be really clear to sort of manage people's expectations, because I even suggested a large water tower that they use on construction sites to keep dust down as a temporary fix. Mm. But, the runoff has to go somewhere, and it can't go straight into the sea. So, we'll keep working through that, and that's a problem that'll probably be fixed for next year.
Oh, well, lucky when RecFish were looking for their new executive officer, what was it, a year or two ago, they found someone with aquaculture experience and a bit of plumbing on the side. So that was a win. Yeah. So if anyone's got leaky washers, I'll try and fit that in after my schedule.
How good. Asher, thank you very much for your time. You've been incredibly generous. It's been great to catch up on all the latest issues. Thank you very much for your time. As always, appreciate you coming on the show.
No worries at all. Anytime. And as always, feel free to give me a call or an email. We're more than happy to give anyone a help anywhere in the state.
Beautiful. Thanks, Asher.
No dramas. Thank you.
Dizzy, that was very informative from Asher, wasn't it?
It was, mate. It was great to have him on. He's always got really informative detail on all the topics that we like to cover. So it was great to have him on for a good length of time to cover those off in detail, because certainly from all the Facebook posts and the likes that I've seen, there's been a lot of people out there asking questions. The RecFish team are excellent at getting back to those. So it's been great to hear from Asher about those specifics.
Yeah, Diz, it's always very informative. We covered a hell of a lot of topics, and that just sort of shows, I suppose, how much they've got on their plate, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we thank them, like we said earlier, for all of their hard work and efforts that go on behind the scenes. It's really good to hear. Rhodey, let's get into the fishing report before we wrap up today's episode.
Rhodey and Diz have been out on the water to bring you the news about where they're biting. Now it's time for the fishing report.
I feel like all of our fishing reports recently, Rhodey, have just been barrels, and we've never bloody caught one ourselves.
Well, yeah, that's because you keep jetting off to Fiji and Sydney. And
it's easy to blame it on me, mate. It's easy to blame it on me, but the truth is we just got to get our act together. We got to get ourselves down there, and what we're hoping for, if we do manage to get ourselves a barrel, is that it doesn't happen like what this person did, who went down there and basically ended up with 2/3 of a fish because a great white shark was mauling it on the way in.
Yeah, Diz, it's a pretty cool video. I think it was on Channel 7 News. It was on one of the news anyway.
Yeah, it did make the sort of mainstream media, that's for sure, Rhodey. It was a big, decent great white shark who'd taken a huge chunk off the back of the fish. They did manage to get it into the boat.
Most of it into the boat.
That's right. But the shark was sort of hanging around the back of the boat there for quite some time after they got it in.
They got some good footage of that shark, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, when we do talk tuna fishing more generally, the sharks are always not too far away. Those huge bait balls, big schools of fish coming around. It's natural that those predators would be there. But it is good when you get footage of that to see them up close and personal, Rhodey.
Yeah, it is. And well done to Isabella Sesto from Melbourne, who caught the fish. And really cool footage. And I suppose if you're going to catch a barrel, you might as well only take 90% of it home and get a cool video out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not bad. All right, Rhodey. Well,
but there has been other tuna around there too. Have you been hearing that, Tiz? The Robe sort of Cape Jaffa area?
Yeah.
So that's worth touching on, that has been where they've been seeming to hang out, which is interesting, isn't it, Tiz?
Yeah, it is. Well, Goody, our would we call him our non-fishing contact? He doesn't particularly love fishing.
He's not a strong fisherman.
He's from Kingston down in the southeast, and he had been hearing some whispers of people getting some big tuna out off Cape Jaffa.
Should we pretend we want to go visit him and just conveniently bring the boat and go missing for 8 hours?
Yeah, don't mind it. All right, Reddy, I'm going to move on to a bit of a left field one here, mate. There's been native brown snake in the water off the Hallett Cove cliffs.
Do you want me to just play the other sound effect for the nature segment? Or?
If you can, that'd be good.
What else has that got to do with it?
Well, look, some people out there fishing, mate. Hallett Cove is a popular place to spend some time on the water this summer, and I just want to make sure that people are aware that there is the potential that there might be a little brown snake nipping about off the Hallett Cove cliffs.
So if anyone across the entire state of South Australia sees a brown snake, please call in, because we'll do snake updates every week.
Add it into
just
the
in case, there's someone in like Renmark that runs across a snake and they want the whole state to know about it.
Yeah, no, that would actually be good. That would add a bit of a flair to our fishing report.
That could be the worst part of our fishing report in 92 episodes.
I actually don't mind it. I'd be keen to hear on the listeners' thoughts. I'm just looking after their best interest. We'll move on though to the squid that's been caught local, Rhodey. There's been some really good catches.
Yeah, I think it was Josh Davey was nailing them off Seacliff.
Yeah, right? Well, I don't know how long he planned to spend on the water, but if he'd sort of had in his sort of daily plan that he was going to have the bag before the sun got up, I think he probably would have been pretty happy with that.
That's fair effort, isn't it?
Yes, it was. It was great to see him smashing the squid down there. Jordan Saliba doing well always, but the squid have been firing, mate. I mean, with the comp we had, there's just people getting them everywhere.
I was talking big game about getting down a sea cliff or something this weekend, but I'm not sure the weather's going to play the game, is it?
Nah, it doesn't look great, does it? Doesn't look great. Rhodey, this is one thing I did actually forget to cover off while we were talking big barrel tuna, but Port Mac Charters still is doing the damage. They got a 127 kilo fish recently.
It's one of the bigger fish for the season, I reckon, isn't it? There's been a lot in that sort of just under 100 kilo range.
Yeah. So that's a good, solid fish, and they've done very well this season. Like our good friend Tice from Wanna Fish, he keeps nailing the fish down there as well. So it's good to see. And one last little story for you, Rhodey, is a little DM we got from somebody sending us in a photo of a fantastic gummy shark caught off Glenelg.
Yeah, who was that, Diz? You must have handled that bit of comms.
No, mate. They didn't send it directly to me, mate. That was to the Facebook page. It was, of course, Dan Kaz. Dan Kaz's son caught a Murray cod at the Gone Fishing Day and then backed it up with a 150 centimetre gummy shark the following day off Glenelg.
Oh, wow. Jeez,
So-
I hadn't read that. You must have read that and didn't see.
Louis Kaz has got a photo. His dad out on the boat, sitting on the deck. Looks like an epic gummy that they got into the boat. Would have taken some lovely slabs off that for some flake, I reckon. Great fish.
Oh, that's really good. So he was the fella that we met down at Happy Valley. Good on him.
I think so, Roddy. I think so.
And we said to Asher some of those kids couldn't go any better. He's done it in one day.
Yeah, he has. He's nailed it. He's on a sharp trajectory there.
Oh, yeah, he will dead second a marlin, fish number 3.
He will. All right, Roddy, that wraps up the news segment. Where can the listeners find our fishing/nature podcast?
Cheers. We are all over your Spotify, your Apple Music, your naturepodcast.com, Snake Watchers United, Brown Snake Enthusiasts of Australia.
Very good. Share your photos with us. Send them in. Well done to Aaron winning the squid comp. We'll get the prize pack out your way. Won't be long before we run another one of those. Of course, we'll have the monthly comp. So keep sending in your photos. Love your work, guys, and thanks for tuning in today.
Thanks to Asher for coming on, and good luck fishing, guys.
Rhodey and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.